Hello, people of the world. Welcome to, what is this, part 5? Part 6? I don't even remember what part this is of this series. But anyway, so we're going to be moving on to the next section. So I went a bit crazy, and I did actually several sections. I did the sequence section where we took the boom, ba 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 bum 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 ba bum ba 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 ba. I also did the reprise of the theme. And the reprise of the secondary melody. I did both of those. And the orchestration for those is fairly straightforward, so I'm hoping to be able to fit all of that into a single video. So I'm just going to go ahead and play what I have so far, beginning from, I'll begin with the last phrase of the melody, ma, 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 ma. Let's see. Yeah, right over here. So yeah, nice, huge climax, and then it's going to kind of soften up and do some. I've decided to fit a little bit more into the piece, a little bit more, development with some harmonic variety before we go immediately into the ending. So I do stuff like that all the time, deviate from the original plan just a little bit if you feel like, because when you listen to something in context, once you add all the counterpoint orchestration and stuff, sometimes instinct tells you that it would be better if it was a little bit different than you planned it originally, because when you're planning, you can never quite foresee how everything is going to turn out. But anyway, I digress. So let's see here. Let's move on to the next section. So yeah, before I move on, one thing, I think two things I wanted to let you know is that I did actually simplify the melody, and I said this in the comment section of the previous video, but but there originally was a triplet in there, but I simplified it, so it's I made it a little bit simpler so that it's easier to stick in it's easier to, it just makes it more catchier and easier to remember, and it just felt contour wise to be a little bit better to me. So anyway, let's scoot back here, and the first thing, two transition things that I added to help it transition into the next section, boom, ba 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 bum 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 from the previous section. The first one is just a little wind thing, and that's just with the one oboe and two of the clarinets, and their nice registers. And then the only other thing, of course, we have some timpani, tremolo, and suspended cymbal, the usual stuff. And the only other thing was I adjusted the voice leading on the strings. Normally, oh my goodness, it's thundering outside. Oh my gosh. Anyway, it normally just stayed at the C, but because the next part, it has big octaves and the strings, so I adjusted the string voice leading so that it led up to the octaves. Very similar to what I did before. So, kind of led them up to it, so they didn't just randomly jump up there. All right, so when we get to this contrapuntal section, there are basically three primary ideas going. Well, four, I should say, 4 ideas going on. The fourth one is pretty simple. So first off, we have this main melody, and I had to simplify it because I actually had the idea of coming up with a round. So again, like I said, this boom, ba 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 bum 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 ba bum. That melody, has a fourth motion, or it goes downward in fifth. You know, it goes from C minor to F minor, which goes downward in a fifth, upward in a fourth. So you could continue that in a circle of fifth sequence, like we said. Boom, but I said, well, let's take that even further and turn it into a canon, where you have like this. Or let me see if I can do this here. Let me turn it up so you can hear it. So you see how he creates a boom, bum, 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 and then while it does that, another one chases it with a canon. So yeah, I'll just go ahead and play the first melody, and I simplified it. Instead of going boom, bum, 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 boom, I just made it bum, 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 boom. I simplified it a little bit so that it would work contrapuntally with itself, because otherwise there was going to be some clashing there. So this is just a... So, and then chasing that melody was the counter melody, which is in the trumpets and the trombones, which goes like this. Exact same thing, just in canon. Alright? Which works together contrapuntally, so I'll play them both together and you can hear how it works as a canon. And you see how, I don't know if any of you have studied counterpoint, but in counterpoint, one of the things you do, you know, besides the normal part writing rules like having mostly contrary motion and stuff, you want to try to make the rhythms as separate as possible, and sort of when a certain melody has breathing room, so to speak, or a more simple rhythmic contour, then you take advantage of that, and I've talked about that before. So you can see even here, like, you know, boom, bum, 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 boom, bum, 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 bum. So while the horn is still, the trumpets have these triplets, but then when the horn picks up and goes boom, bum, 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 then the trumpet simplifies onto quarter notes. So you can see how they sort of fill in the gaps, they fill in the space, you know. They're not all going incessantly at the same time. They sort of talk in turns, if that makes any sense. Right? And they all split into parts later to get that nice, you know, C suspended C. So, yeah, so underneath all of that, we have a pretty simple bass line, because, you know, you don't want to get too complicated, because then it can get annoying quickly. You got to be careful when you're at counterpoint. Super simple, and again, rhythmically taking advantage of, you know, what the triplets here, because, right, you know, there is a dotted, let's see, eighth notes in one of the rhythms, and a dotted eighth and a 16th in another one of the rhythms, so a triplet wasn't being used, so if I used a triplet in order so that the rhythmically it could sound separate. Sorry, I lost my place in the sheet music there for a second. Yeah, so all of that together, and just to let you know, it's on the tuba, bass trombone, and of course the cello and contrabass. Let me see, I don't think I doubled it on, yeah, no, I didn't double it on the bassoon and contrabassoon, you know, kind of, you know. Sorry about that. Made the mistake twice in a row about forgetting how much space I have left on my camera. Anyway, so as I was saying, hopefully that footage was saved, that you shouldn't double all of the bass instruments onto, you shouldn't go all out, you shouldn't be an extremist, you shouldn't be like, go double everything everywhere, or only have a single instrument, you know, sometimes just a few choice instruments can work really well, and plus the contrabassoons and bassoons have been doing quite a bit previously, so, you know, give them a little break. But anyway, so yeah, so all of that plus the bass line is going to sound like this. On top of all of that, we have a string counter melody. So we're pretty much filling up the space as much as we possibly can. I think we have a flute along with the first violin, second violins, and violas, which goes like this. nice little counter melody there. And of course, you know, you got to make sure that you follow the rules of counterpoint when doing things like these. So it's always good to practice writing, you know, 2, 3, and 4 part writing counterpoint in a more simple setting, and then, you know, you can take that knowledge and apply it to full orchestral writing. So the most important thing is just to not go nuts, and like I said, don't go crazy rhythmically. You have to give all the melodies individually room to breathe, you know, so they can fill up each other's space. So yeah, so all of that combined with what we have so far sounds like this plus the string melody. Let me see if I can select all of these instruments. Alright, here we go right here. Alright, and I actually like how the strings sort of take precedence. In the forefront, you know, you can really hear them out front as the sole melody, because it's almost like the theme, because we played the theme so much, you know, or at least we played that material before, so it's like we present the new material out in front, and then the old material, you know, our theme, sort of developing it in the background. And plus, of course, you know, no performer is slightly unrealistic when it comes to dynamics, so, you know, with the cinesamples, which are sampled from real instruments, the brass will definitely be the star of the show right there. Or anywhere for that matter. But don't tell them that I said that. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, so then the only thing after that is just a really, really simple percussion beat. Like, really simple. Just bump it up, you know. So really simple, and again, sparing use of the gong, and then had a little bit more cymbals towards the end to increase the intensity. And then and that's pretty much it for that particular section. So yeah, so we just have 4 ideas. We have the 2 versions of the theme and a canon with each other. We have the bass line, and then we have the string counter melody, and then the simplified percussion. So that's it for that section. Moving on more to the next section. So you can really see that the rule of 3 works quite well with the orchestra. You know, as long as you have really no more than 3 ideas, sometimes 4, and if you get up to 4, you need to be really careful to make sure that, again, they all don't step on each other's toes. But 3 or 4, those are generally the 2 golden numbers of ideas, of different melodies or different things going on at the same time, not including, you know, percussion effects or drives before it starts getting really, really crazy. So yeah, so right now, then it's just a huge melodic push. So we gave the trumpets and the trombones, both the trumpets and the trombones, because like I said, they work great in octaves with the melody, along with the upper 2 violins going like this. You've heard that melody before. The only difference is now we're in the key of F minor, which again works really well with the range of the trumpet, whereas before it was great for the range of the horn. So now, you know, it's acclimated. So then we have this nice little horn melody, which I quite like, if I do say so myself, which goes like this. Alright, so it's quite nice. In my opinion, it's kind of a nice little line. It goes well. I'll play what it sounds like with the other melodies. So. Into chords later to give a sort of full sound, because it's a bit dry at the beginning with not a lot of harmonic background, but then it goes to chords later to, you know, fill it out. Yeah, so, and again, I treated normally a counter line just sort of weaves on and on, but for this counter line, I tried to make the counter line have a question and answer in of itself. You know, bum ba dum bum boom bum 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 ba ba bum 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 ba 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 bum bum, and then answer bum ba dum bum. You know what I mean? So I tried to make it feel almost like an individual melody rather than just a counter line, so to speak. And these E flats, you know, are slow enough, you know, and since all 6 horns are going, a great horn section could hit an E flat. They can go all the way up to an F if you want them to, but it's not safe unless it's a really huge full section, you know, like a Mahlerian type section. Like this, where it could work well. And again, you have to, you know, I know my samples can do it, and a great orchestra could definitely go up there, you know. But you just got to be aware of these things. If you're writing for a high school group, you don't want to be writing, you know, E flats and D flats. So yeah, and then we have our typical bass line that we really like, you know. I reused it because I liked it. Remember how it goes. And I had to make a slight modification at the end because instead of ending at the tonic, it ends at the dominant, which leads into the next part. Because before it just ended the, you know, bum, 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 but then it feels completed and like it doesn't want to go anywhere. Whereas the next section, is a huge push. So I really wanted to be bum, 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 bum. So when it goes into the huge section, you feel you know, a sense of relief, like we're back to our tonic. So yeah, so all of that together. So again, that's 6 horns on the counter melody, trumpets and trombones, and octaves on the melody, along with the upper 2 strings, violins 1 and violins 2. I should let you know that the horn melody is also double on the violas, which was a great range for the viola. Then we have the bass line, which is on the cellos, contrabasses, as well as the lower the tuba and the bass trombone and the contrabassoon and bassoons. I went ahead and brought them in. You know, I saved them for this moment. So all of that together, just those bare melodic ideas without percussion, sounds like this. So, and then the percussion is basically very similar to the section before. It's just really simple because, I don't want it to get in the way. It's not, because the beginning had really intricate percussion, and I wanted this to be more like a sort of straight, easy to follow, rhythmically speaking, version of the melody. So it's just simple. Similar before, with a little fill in there to not keep it from being too dull. But yeah, so that's pretty much it actually, and I'll play that. I'll play all that right here. Go into this huge push right here. So, funnily enough, the huge pushes are actually the most simple because, the more pointed and simple your ideas are, the more saturated the music is going to sound, so to speak. So yeah, so we have first of all we have this huge string sound, which is very common with like the whole Eric Korngold style of music, where you have high cellos, which are very throaty and wonderful up there, violas, seconds, and the high first violins. So we have triple octaves. Cellos are doubling the viola, so you can hear what this sounds like. It's a really big string sound just for the melody. Calms down for the later section, so we'll just focus on this part right here. So yeah, and then we have these bass lines and chords doing what they did before, bum 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 bum, the really simple sort of harmonic background, just holding the harmony. Wonderful sound. And the trumpets, even though they're fairly low in their register, because I didn't want them to distract from the melody, they're doubling the trombones in places. They still can play, as long as they're not like below the B flat, below middle C, they still can be very loud and brassy in that register. It's still a great place for them to be. So yeah. And then above all that, we have another horn counterline, which goes like this. So. Yeah, I worked on that counter melody for a while because I really wanted it to feel like one of those epic, like Mahler 9, huge horn lines. Like, I know we've had a lot of horn lines in this piece, but I wanted that to be like the horn line of all horn lines. So yeah, so we'll play just the horn line, just the 6 horns, and then the strings, and show you what that sounds like. Works quite well, even as 2-part counterpoint, but of course, the harmony solidifies all of it. So we'll play all the harmony on top of all that, and that is going to sound like this. Yep. That's what that sounds like. And then the only other idea that we have besides, the huge cymbal and gong hits, just going crazy to give you just a feeling of like flying through the New Zealand mountains. The only other thing that we have going on are these wind runs, which I very carefully and meticulously, because I had to be really careful with the ranges, because if I was too low with the flutes or too high with the oboes, I just was not going to be heard. So I was very careful to make sure that everything was in their loudest register possible, because it was such a huge push. So you can go ahead and hear it. So kind of a nice little full section. They're all dovetailing into each other. So first we have the flutes and piccolo, which dovetails into the flutes, which play the same thing that the other flutes did, because if you play just the flutes, they sound redundant. But it's because of the fact that you start with the piccolo, so even though they're both playing at the same time, once you take the top away, then you notice the bottom one, so it doesn't seem like it just played because your brain was paying attention to the top one, if that makes any sense at all. So yeah, I'll just play the flutes dovetailing into each other. And then the oboes just dovetail into each other, primarily because I want to keep them in their lower register, or mid to lower register, because they're being double reeds. They're loudest in that register and most piercing. And I wanted them to be able to play very fast, very effortlessly, and they're not quite as agile as the flutes. I mean, they're very agile, but that's another reason I broke them up. And you can see how I worked with the ranges, because, once you get down there, an oboe can't actually play even middle C. It's, I think, D above middle C is the lowest register. So it's a little bit limited down there, but I still wanted to stay down there, so you can see how I worked this dovetail out. So, and I took the same scale, so I could stay up, use the same idea over and over again. I'd literally just change the individual contour of the notes using the note input feature to fit the harmony better. That's all that I did. So, yeah, so that plus the, cymbal hits, plus everything else sounds like this. Second section, which is pretty simple actually, pretty straightforward. It's literally just 4-part string writing. I'll play just the first violins and the violas are in octaves, right? And then the second violins are filling in harmony. Again, following the rules of part writing, don't have any parallel fifths, things like that. For the second violins. And then the cellos fill in the rest of the harmony up in their highest register, which makes them very singing. Placing the the cello in its high register because it almost makes you pay attention more to the counterline than the actual melody itself, because you already know the melody, like you've heard it more than this is like the fourth time you've heard that contour. So because the question and answer of this melody is very similar to it, so I didn't want you to get bored with the melody, so I sort of range wise made the in between stuff pop out more than the main melody, and then a very simple bass line to fill it out. And then the only thing after that is just the flutes, or one flute, which is just, it's literally just doubling the melody. That's literally all that it's doing. I think I did some range adjustments later to make the flute higher, so that it would sing out in its higher register, just made it go up instead of down, similar to what we did with the horns way back when. Then the only other thing we have going is we have this piano just giving these us rolling chords. Right, nothing too complicated, but just a little bit of variation there. Oh my gosh, I hate how it does that. Sibelius, you silly mongrel. And then we just have these rolling harp runs to go along with it. See how it accents the melody? So it accents the melody, but adds other notes in between, It's very similar to the technique used in the E.T. song where you have the but at the end of the movie you have it takes the melody the simple contour and puts stuff in the in between. So anyway, yeah, that is it. That's literally what we have so far. So I will see you in the next segment.